I'd like to start our review off today with a quick disclaimer. I absolutely love this game. I had a blast playing this game. I'm about to gush all over this game. However, one of the reasons why I love this game, and one of the reasons why I'm about to be so happy with this game, is because this is my jam. This is the exact kind of stuff that I have been waiting for from the video game industry. Does that mean that it's all perfect for me? No, I still have some problems with this. However, this game so far has been getting very mixed reviews, very back and forth. And I absolutely understand why, because this is not going to be a game for everyone. This is going to be a game for a very specific audience. However, I am that very specific audience. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to talk about how much I love this game, but I want everyone out there at home who hears me praising this game to ask yourselves before you go out and buy it, is this something that I would enjoy? Are the reasons why he's saying he's excited about this the same reasons why I might be excited about that? So just had to get that out of the way right now. So, the Dark Pictures Man of Medan has finally come out, and I've been waiting for this for several years. For anybody who does not know the backstory on this game, this is by Supermassive, the exact same studio who was behind Until Dawn, which was an interactive horror story. It was basically meant to be, hey, what if you were in a horror movie controlling all the characters? Would you make the right decisions to save everyone? Would you end up getting everyone killed? How would your decisions affect the way that the story plays out? And I love that idea. I'm a big horror fan, but also ever since I was a kid and I found out that RPG stands for role-playing game, I thought to myself, oh man, the idea of a video game allowing me to make decisions that will change the outcome of the entire story? That's exactly what I want from a video game. I cannot wait for the day when we have technology in video games that can actually fully realize the potential of that style of storytelling. And I think after all this time, we're finally getting there. And Until Dawn was a huge step forward for that. So I was waiting for that next Until Dawn. I was waiting for this studio's follow-up. However, this studio felt differently, because the next game they put out was an Until Dawn prequel for the PlayStation VR, and it wasn't very good. And they also put out another PlayStation VR game that was a weird tie-in, although not really, to Until Dawn, that was a rail shooter. Yeah, it was actually a fairly decent rail shooter, but it's not what we wanted from this studio. And then they put out something that wasn't Until Dawn related at all, and it was a detective story as a mobile game that kind of implemented some similar decision-making skills, but not really, and nobody really cared for it at all. And after all that time, Bandai Namco finally stepped up and said, all right, quit the bullshitting. People are waiting on the next Until Dawn. Let's give them the next Until Dawn, all right. In fact, let's not just give them the next Until Dawn. Let's give them the next 5 Until Dawns. And that has brought us to The Dark Pictures. This is a brand new anthology series. Apparently, they're going to have one installment of this come out every 6 months, which sounds insane, except every single one of these games are only $30. So it's actually not that bad, and I'll get into why it might be priced that a little bit later on. But every single one of these are basically going to be what Until Dawn was. The gameplay mechanics are exactly the same. The way that you control these characters is exactly the same. The way that your decisions play out and decide the fate of each of these characters, and the way that you buff up their stats, and that also has an impact on where the story goes. Everything from Until Dawn is in this game, except there's so much more of it. One of the reasons why this game is a lot cheaper than Until Dawn was, one of the reasons it's only $30, is because while Until Dawn was 8 hours long, Man of Medan is only like 5 hours long. And that is if you take your sweet time getting through this. And I've seen a lot of people going, oh my goodness, it's only 5 hours long, only 4 to 5 hours, depending on how quickly you play this. Oh, that feels like such a ripoff, even for only $30. Yes, I could maybe understand that. Except, there is so much replay value in here. Because yes, this is much shorter than Until Dawn. However, even though I loved Until Dawn, I kind of wish that it took all the elements that it presented in that game, all the mechanics of you making decisions and those decisions deciding where the story goes. I wish it gave us so much more in that game. This game gives us so much more. It feels like they took all the decisions that you get to make in Until Dawn and doubled them, and then took that and crammed it into a game that was slightly more than half the length of Until Dawn. Whereas in Until Dawn, you can go a long segment without really doing anything that feels like it matters at all. In this game, almost every couple seconds, there is a brand new thing to look at, a brand new thing to inspect, a decision that needs to be made, and that decision will play into story elements that come up later in the game. This thing might have sacrificed quantity when it comes to the length of the game, but it made up for it in quality. I can't lie to you guys, this thing came out on Friday, the exact same time that new Blair Witch game came out, the exact same time that Astral Chain came out, Control came out just a few days before that. I should be playing all those games. I haven't touched any of those games yet, because I'm on my third playthrough of Medan. And the reason why I'm on my third playthrough of it is because, unlike a lot of other games out there that say every decision you make will have an impact on how the story is told, this one feels like it is actually making good on that promise. A lot of the other games out there that do things like that, yeah, it will make a decision on the final thing that happens in the game. But a large percentage of the game, it's still mostly going to be exactly the same. Like, for example, Until Dawn. Yes, I love what they were attempting with Until Dawn. However, it's not until about 2/3 of the way through the story that your decisions really start playing out, that you really start to see, oh, okay, this is when characters can live or die. In this game, characters can start living or dying early in this thing. There are characters that can just disappear for the rest of the game, or not, depending on the way that you play this out. There is a character in here who, on our first playthrough, he has the opportunity to escape. But the way that he escapes, it all comes down to a QuickTime event. You have to time this QuickTime event just right. If you miss this split-second button press, they die. So I looked at that and I went, okay, I know what you just did there. It makes it feel like you have a huge impact on the story, but really, the end result is kind of the same. If I hit the button prompt, then he escapes, and he's gone for the rest of the game. But if I miss the button prompt, then he dies, and he is also gone for the rest of the game. However, there are a couple of button prompts before you get to the life or death button prompt, and I was playing through it on the third time, and I thought, all right, this time I'm just going to have everyone die. And when it got to that first button prompt, I didn't do anything. I missed it. And because I missed it, I never got to the life or death button prompt. And because of that, this character, who I was 100% convinced just leaves. They're just gone from the game. Right here, 20% of the way through the story. No, he's now with me throughout the entire course of this game. And he's not like in the background as the other characters play out the story as normal. No, you're controlling him for a large chunk of this story. He actually still has a huge impact on where this story goes. Or there's another character in here, and he's a major character, and he is with you throughout this entire story. This story about you sailing out into the middle of the ocean and finding a ghost ship and then going on that ship and exploring it, looking for this mysterious Manchurian gold, as it's called. And you have to discover the secret behind what Manchurian gold is. And as I said, there is a character who joins you for that entire mission. But because on my third playthrough, I chose some different options, that character never left the first boat. He's still alive. He's just chilling out on the boat that we used to get to the ghost ship. So I'm now exploring this ghost ship with a brand new character who I thought was supposed to die or leave 20% of the way through the story, and another character who I thought was supposed to be with us on the ghost ship just isn't there. He's just back on the original ship. This is a completely different experience compared to what I had been playing in those first two playthroughs. And as I saw in those first two playthroughs, the decisions you make do indeed change a lot about this game. In Until Dawn, yes, you can make decisions that decide who lives or dies. However, the ending of the game is exactly the same. The ending of the game still comes down to whatever characters you still have left alive, all in this big mansion, and you have to escape from the big spooky monsters, and it's always going to be at least the one survivor surviving girl, because there's no way to kill her off throughout this story until the very end of the thing, so you always know that's who you're going to control. Yes, the ending of Until Dawn is always going to be exactly the same. The only change that happens depending upon the choices that you have made throughout this story all really comes down to how many characters are left alive for that final scene. But in Medan, as I said, I've already successfully completed 2 full playthroughs of this thing. The ending to both those playthroughs were 100% different. There is a character who is chasing your characters down, and I thought, okay, this is absolutely the big finale. He comes in here, you have to escape this one big villain at the end. On my second playthrough, that character died before we even got to the big final showdown. And I just found myself sitting there going, well, what the heck is the big final showdown going to be? And I got treated as something completely different. And here's the thing that really stuns me about this, is how deep they get with the decisions that you make in this game and how they affect the things that happen later on in this game. Because you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so you're given some dialogue choices and you also have to hit some QTEs. And if you miss those QTEs or choose different QTEs or you choose different decisions to have your character say, then that will end up affecting certain story beats. There's so much more to it than that. Because when you make decisions in this game, it adds different stats to your characters, different personality stats. And if you unlock different personality stats for your characters based on all the decisions that you have made throughout this game, it ends up giving them different things to say. It ends up taking their story in different directions. So yes, your dialogue choices do affect certain things with the story, but they can also unlock different choices later on, which I find to be incredibly impressive. But here's the one that gets me the most. Here's the one that I did not see coming at all. There is an invisible timer in this game. There is a timer that is just counting down whenever you are in a scene, but the game never comes in here and tells you that's a thing. The game never comes in here and says, oh, you better be quick with your decisions, otherwise you might run out of time. No, never says anything like that. But there was a moment in which I was in a room and I was investigating something. And because I had taken my sweet time reading through this thing, I read through it twice, and then after reading through it twice, I went and just screwed around with this piano for a while just to see if something happened from me hitting the same key over and over again, just goofing off to see what happens. And then this scene happens. But when I went through and played that area on the second playthrough, I didn't need to read any of that stuff again. I just picked it up so it's quickly filed within my character's memory. That's all I did. I didn't even bother looking through it. So I just went over to it, picked the item up, and that was it. And I went, all right, now the scene happens. And now the scene happens. Oh, the scene is not happening. Well, let me explore a little bit more. And I walked around and I found some new items that I had completely missed before that. And because I found some new items, I ended up very drastically changing something else that ended up happening. But then that scene that had happened my first playthrough still ended up happening. But now because I had found some different items, the scene played out totally differently. And here's the one that's really getting me on my third playthrough right now. As I said, I've been through this game a couple times now. So even though I have different characters, I know everything that I'm going to find. So I am now basically racing through this thing. I am going through all the little hallways that you find early on in the ship, and I'm quickly stopping to grab the items, but I'm not taking my time to read it, and I know exactly where all the items are, so I don't have to walk around up against the walls looking to see if anything jumps out at me. So yeah, I am going pretty quickly through the game at this time, and all the jump scares are gone. Yes, as I said, you are on a ghost ship, and there's a lot of ghosts walking around with you. There's a lot of hallucinations you're going to have. There's a lot of times you're going to go, wait, is that thing that I just saw, or was that just my eyes playing tricks on me? And let me just go ahead and say right now, I do have some problems with this game. And one of the problems I have is there's too many jump scares. There are way too many things just jump out and go boo at you. But that's not all the scares. There are a lot of atmospheric scares in here. There are a lot of scares that have a build-up to them. There are a lot of things that just play tricks on your mind, and those scares are actually really good. So I do take some points off because they overuse jump scares, but I also have to give it some points because it's not all jump scares. They actually do have some really good atmospheric scares in here. But as I was saying, I am racing through the game this time, and all the jump scares from the first playthrough all the little, oh man, was that a thing in the background? Oh, did I just see that, or was I hallucinating? All those things are gone. Like, there's a moment in my first playthrough where I was walking through this bathroom, and then the camera changed, and it showed me something. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but it showed me something from that camera angle. But this time, on my third playthrough, camera angle didn't change. There was not that thing in the background that the camera wanted me to see. That didn't pop up at all. And at first I thought, okay, maybe that's a glitch. But then I got to another moment where you grab something and you have this vision of a hand reaching out to grab you. I grabbed that thing and I went, all right, now the hand reaches out for me. Oh no, it's not happening. There was no hand. There was no spooky, scary jump scare right there. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's because on my first playthrough, I was playing as this character, but on this playthrough, I'm playing as character C, this character who I thought was supposed to leave the game early on, but now he's here, so maybe this character just isn't getting scared by these ghosts, but I'm watching someone else online play through with that character right now on their first playthrough, and yeah, all those jump scares are being activated. In fact, he's got brand new jump scares that are specific just to him. And I'm not seeing any of them in this playthrough. And I actually had to stop and realize, oh my god, it's because of that invisible counter. That invisible counter, that invisible clock, it's still there. It's not just there for specific scenes, it's here for the entire game. And because my third playthrough is basically a speedrun playthrough, none of them are jumping out at me. I haven't had time to activate the ghost. They have not had time to wake up. And that made me realize this game made it so even your speed affects the outcome of the game. The speedrun version of this game is different than the regular version of this game. That is incredible to me, that they went to those lengths to make the game play out like that. Things that this game doesn't even tell you are a thing are going to have an impact on what happens to you in this game. So yes, as somebody who has always wanted to see video games hit that point where they can reach that level of interactive storytelling where so many of your decisions can have such an impact on where the story goes, I am 100% on board with this game. I am so happy with this game. However, it still has problems. There are still things I need to come in here and point at and say, yeah, that wasn't done all that great. For example, the control of your characters, it was kind of a problem in Until Dawn. Your characters moved kind of slowly. It was kind of rough turning them around at times. And in here, exact same thing. In fact, it actually feels like it might be a little bit worse in this game. The characters feel even a little bit more stiff in this game. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there who get really frustrated with that. And honestly, I can't blame them. Also, as I said, this is basically meant to be an interactive horror movie. However, this is not the best horror movie. As I said, the scares are actually pretty good. I'm very happy that it is not just jump scares. There's a lot of atmospheric scares, and the atmosphere itself is great. This ship is legitimately freaky. However, the acting, half the characters in here are pretty good actors. The other half, not so much. Yeah, it's kind of back and forth on it. And a lot of the bad actors, you can't help but stop even when you're playing the game and go, ooh, you want to do that line read again? Maybe? Oh, no, we're just moving on. Okay then, yeah, that kind of breaks the tension every now and again. And also, the dialogue is pretty weak. The dialogue in Until Dawn was not great, but it wasn't that bad. Again, this feels almost a little bit worse than Until Dawn, like just worse enough that I have to come in here and point it out. For example, there's a moment in here where one character turns on another character, and as far as I can tell, that just happens no matter what. No matter what your decisions are, there's going to come that moment where one character is going to accuse another character of doing a specific thing, and you just look at it and go, what? Why on earth would you do that? Or there's a moment where it looks like your characters are going to get kidnapped, and they have their hands tied behind their back, and then character A unties their hands, and then they let the kidnappers see their hands are untied, but then as the kidnappers leave, they turn to character B and say, when they come back, make sure that they don't see that your hands are untied. What? But you just show them that you're... whatever. Or there's another moment where character A says to character B, hey, have you seen where my brother went? and their brother is standing 2 feet away from them. Like, their brother literally just left at the start of this conversation and said, all right, I'm gonna go over here and check on this thing. They say like 2 lines of dialogue. Hey, have you seen where my brother went? I don't know, I'll go find him. And then they literally, like, you take control of the character and they turn, and the brother is right there, like, within arm's length of them. Like, if you just turn your head to the left, you would see that's where your brother is. Yeah, there's really lazy stuff in the writing like that. Don't get me wrong, there are things with the writing that I actually did find intriguing. There are things with the writing that I actually have to applaud. For example, one of the best parts of Until Dawn was the mystery that it's set up and how you found all these little clues and you had to piece together in your own mind what this big mystery was. They do the exact same thing in here, and it still works. I still really enjoyed that part of this game. And let me just also go ahead and say, I know a lot of people out there are going to be really disappointed because this game has so many QTEs, because we've reached that point in video games where so many games use so many QTEs that a lot of people just hate QTEs no matter what. I think QTEs have a time and place, and with the way that this story plays out and the way that it is meant to work with how your decisions and your actions change the course of the story, I actually think the QTEs actually have a place here. And I will say, they're actually kind of clever with the QTEs, because there comes a moment in this game, in my first playthrough, where you're trying to piece the story together, you're trying to figure out where this story is going, and I got to a moment where I realized, oh, they want me to do this thing. But no, I know that's a trick. I know if I do that thing, then this bad thing will happen. I'm not going to do that. And sure enough, a QTE popped up for it and went, nope, not gonna press the button. Not gonna press the button. And because I didn't press that button, a character lived who otherwise would have died. But then immediately after that QTE was done, another QTE popped up and my hands were not on the controller. And because I missed that QTE, a completely different character died, and I had to stop there and go, I'm not even mad at that. I'm not even mad, because that's genius. Because this game knew that the audience at this point would start to kind of piece some stuff together. They would start to realize, wait a minute, I think that means this thing, and you showed me this thing earlier on that meant that it could be this thing. So they knew that the people in the audience would not react to that QTE, that they would be smart enough to do that. So they immediately put another QTE right after that to mess with the people who were smart enough to figure that out. I think that's actually a genius way to use QTEs, and I think that there's a lot of other examples of that in this game. However, there is one side of the QTEs that I do have to criticize, which is that in Until Dawn, there was a part of the story where you had to remain perfectly still so that the enemy didn't see you, and you achieve this by not moving the PlayStation controller. However, because this is not a PlayStation exclusive and they had to program this for all controllers, they could no longer use the PlayStation Move function, so they had to come up with something different. And what they decided to do was make it so that now you had to sync up a button press with a heartbeat on the screen. I did this correct like twice on my first playthrough, and after that, I never got it again, including when I went back and replayed through this game at the parts where I had previously gotten it correct. So I have to actually question, all right, does my controller have a delay that I don't know? Do I just have no rhythm? Or is this thing maybe a little too buggy? Because, yeah, there were several times in this game, not just with the heartbeats, but with several QTEs, where I would hit the button and then there would visibly be a few frames after I hit the button before I saw anything happen. So I think there is actually a frame delay between when you input your commands and when they appear on the screen, which for most QTEs, if you're quick enough, it doesn't really matter at all. They give you plenty of time in there, even if they are rather quick QTEs. But the heartbeats move so fast that that slight delay, yeah, it makes a huge difference. There's so many times in which I would hit that button dead center of the heartbeat and it would still tell me that I failed. And like I said, if it just happened a few times, I would say, okay, yeah, it's probably just me. I screwed this up. But I've seen so many other people out there screwing this thing up and saying, I swear I hit that exactly at the right time. And I can tell just from watching the screen that there is indeed that frame delay in between your button commands and when they activate. So yeah, I think that this thing might just be a little too buggy, especially considering how important it is to specific scenes. But aside from that, I didn't really have any complaints about the QTEs. I think they work just fine in here. So if you're into horror games, I think that this game is great for that. Yes, there's a few too many jump scares, but the atmospheric horror is actually really effective. And even though the jump scares might bug me here and there are actually some good jump scares in here. And if you want a game where your decisions actually have an impact on the story, this is one of the best examples I've ever seen of that. And it's all for only $30, and it looks pretty damn good too. Yes, there's a couple of motion capture moments in here that look kind of stiff, and the walk speed is kind of a pain in the butt, and the turning controls are also kind of a pain in the butt, and the writing and the acting can be pretty bad at times. However, the positives I had for this game, the things that this game did that I had been waiting to see another game do this well, yeah, it makes this still come out to an 8.5 for me. I really had a good time with this, and I cannot wait to see what the next Dark Pictures installment is going to be. In fact, one thing that's really damn cool in here is that they know that they have another game coming, and they know that you know that another game is coming. So there are a couple of Easter eggs all throughout this game that make you think, could this actually be linked to a future game? Could this actually be a hint of things to come? And sure enough, some of them actually are. This is one of those games that will get you sitting there going, oh, could this mean this, and that means this, and this means this for this story? But then you're going to find a couple things in there that don't quite fit into the overall layout of what this story is. And it was towards the end of this game that I started to go, those were all hints of upcoming games. And on my second playthrough, I started looking for those. I didn't even care about the mystery of this big ghost ship. I wanted to know what little Easter eggs they put in here for their upcoming games. This is one of those games that just gets you firing on all cylinders. If you're one of those people who, when you play games with friends, you turn to them and you go, oh, this could be this, and then you guys just have a discussion about what could be what in this game, yeah, this game was made for you. In fact, there's literally a play with friends option in here. There's an option in here where every one of your friends can just control a different character in this game. But there's also an online multiplayer function where you and a friend can sync up online, play the game in totally different locations, and then you will both be controlling separate characters at the exact same time in a scene. So there are many times when you're playing this game in single player in which you'll be controlling a character and you'll see the other characters doing their own thing and you think that's pre-programmed, but if you're playing this with other people online, they will actually be controlling those characters with their own unique things to do during those scenes. In fact, there are many times in this story in which a character will say, okay, you go that way, I'll go this way, and you continue to control the first character that you were playing as. But if you're playing this online, then someone else will now be controlling that other character as they go the other direction, and there's several secrets in here that you can only find by doing that. That's one of the most genius implementations of multiplayer I've ever seen in a video game. So if anything that I have described to you today sounds like it might be fun for you, then yeah, by all means, go and check this thing out. Support this studio because I want to see more Dark Picture games. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another... Well, normally when I do a review where I don't have a script and it's just my thoughts off the top of my head, I call it a quick review because it only lasts about 10 minutes, but... yeah, I think this was probably the longest quote-unquote quick review that we've ever done. This is longer than most of our long-form reviews. But what can I say? I just had so much to say about this game because I really did enjoy it. And I kind of want to wrap up this review so I can go back to playing it some more. But yes, let me know what you thought about Man of Medan in the comments down below. And if you want to see our playthrough of this, it'll be posted up over at twitch.tv/Professor Thorgi. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.